Hank here with my review of the Behringer D2 Podcast Pro USB and XLR microphone. Here's what you get with it: a windscreen, tripod and shock mount, and USB-A to USB-C cable, and of course, documentation. The price of the Podcast Pro by Behringer is $129 US. Build quality wise, the second I got the microphone, I was a bit disappointed at the lightweight of it. However, the grill is sturdy. In my measurements, the D2 weighed just slightly more than the 5-inch long Movo cast mic, which is 11 ounces. So this was roughly 12 to 13 ounces. And the swivel yoke can swivel up to 270 degrees. It does also come with a 3/8 inch to 5/8 inch threaded adapter in the end of the yoke. On the microphone, you have a volume knob, a mute button, an XLR port, a USB-C port, and a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. Specs-wise, this is a dynamic cardioid XLR and USB microphone with a frequency response of 50 Hz to 18 kilohertz. It has a sensitivity of minus 53 dB, plus or minus 3 dB. And in USB mode, you can capture audio up to 24-bit 96 kilohertz. When it comes to plosives, let's see how it does with those. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now, if I were in the same room with somebody, I always like to find out how much bleed through you would get into the microphone. So I'll leave the microphone open. I'm going to scoot over to the side about 2 feet and pretend like I'm another podcaster. I'll just be talking for a few seconds and we'll see how much it picks up. All right, so I'm another podcaster in the same room, and this is what it would pick up if I were talking into my own microphone, which I'm not. Now I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to be behind the microphone 2 feet approximately, and I will just talk for a few seconds, and we'll see how it sounds. Now I'm a couple feet straight behind the back of the microphone, and here's what it sounds like. Here's what it's picking up. I like to use an anchor mic, as I call this. It's just a ubiquitous microphone that you've heard a million times. It's the Shure SM7B. When I do this comparison, I'm not comparing these head-to-head in the sense of buy this or buy this. I'm doing this because you've heard this microphone a million times, and it will kind of anchor if a budget microphone or another microphone sounds good in comparison, or if it just sounds terrible in comparison. So I'm going to switch to the Shure SM7B and switch back and forth a couple times. Now I'm back on the Shure SM7B. This is the tried and true podcast microphone, and it has been for years and years and years. And so it delivers a good, solid performance, I believe, on most voices. So that's why I like to use this microphone, so you get an idea of how far off another microphone sounds in comparison. It just seems to have a nice, smooth tone to it, and it sounds good on most voices. But this is the Shure SM7B. I'm going to go back to the D2 Podcast Pro. All right, now I'm back on the D2 Podcast Pro, and here's what it sounds like in comparison. However, I won't have a good understanding of how this sounds until I put it in my editing software before I do my final pros and cons and overall thoughts. But this is the Behringer D2 Podcast Pro. I'm going to switch back one more time to the SM7B. All right, one last time on the Shure SM7B. Here's how it sounds in comparison to the Behringer D2 Podcast Pro. And chime in the comments below on what your take is on the D2's sound in comparison to this microphone. Just throw that in the comments down below. So for the remainder of this video, I'm going to switch over to the D2 Podcast Pro. Next, I'm going to connect this microphone up to the computer via USB-C, and then we will give it a run that way. And then I'm going to listen back to it with some good studio headphones on and see what I think. Here's the D2 microphone in USB mode, and here's how it sounds. Here's the mute button. Well, I'm back after doing some editing and listening back with my pros and cons. I try not to be too doom and gloom on the channel. I always try to look for the good in products because there are real people behind these products, but this one is a toughie. I would say the only pro I have for this microphone is that it offers both USB and XLR versatility. But on to the cons, they're extensive. The build quality is abysmal. The second I got this microphone, I instantly was disappointed. I picked up the package and there was just no weight to it at all. So from the moment I picked up the box, I had a good inclination that I didn't like it. What's even worse is I let the microphone sit around for a considerable amount of time, even though I had to be one of the first few people to get it, because I just knew that the results were going to line up just like this. You heard in the review, the mute button makes that audible click. It doesn't seem like anybody can get that right on these microphones except for the companies that do the capacitive mute buttons. Another con is the headphone jack could not drive my high impedance headphones. What on earth is this? This is the goofiest shock mount for a yoke style microphone that I've ever seen. There's zero thought put into this being connected to this. It makes no sense. This is the Blue Yeti shock mount, if I'm not mistaken. Another con, I thought that the plosives came through really, really bad, and the windscreen is super, super thin and cheap. And then for the final two strikes and cons against this microphone, the sound is just a dead sound. There's just no life to it whatsoever, in my opinion. If you feel differently, please chime in the comments below. But to my ears, when I was listening back with my over-the-ear headphones, I couldn't find any redeeming quality in this microphone. Sound-wise, I thought it just sounds terrible. It's completely lifeless. Like, there's no body, there's no anything to it. And then the final nail in the D2's coffin is the price point. $130 for this? I was able to buy this Audio-Technica AT2100X on sale for $29 on Amazon a few months back. Its regular price recently has been $49, so minus $80 from this microphone. It performs circles around this microphone. You will see the review of this very soon, and it isn't even a competition. This Behringer microphone is not even in the same zip code as this cheap microphone. When the D2 was first announced, I think I was the most excited person on the internet. I have used Behringer interfaces, including this fun, cheap UM2, along with the other little more higher end interfaces that they have, and they've served me quite well. So like the Euphoria audio interfaces have a better build quality, and I've used those for years and sent them to co-hosts as well. And so my expectations for this microphone were very high, not gonna lie. It is such an embarrassing microphone to present to the public. I don't know what Behringer was thinking about this, and this, in my opinion, sets them back quite a ways. So the next time they announce a product geared towards podcasters and streamers, I'm going to be pretty skeptical, to say the least. There is absolutely no reason for anyone to purchase this microphone, in my opinion. It simply doesn't do anything that you can't have another product do for much cheaper. Thank you.